Well, it is day number 2 of coffeeless mornings, and it is actually not all that bad right now. But I apologize for the slower than usual speech, and plenty of gas to probably be had today as well, as I am starting to get a little bit of the coffeeless headaches. Anyways, plenty to talk about in Bitcoin today, as we did hit the short-term target back up to the upside, actually exceeding it with 4-hour closure above 11,500 pivot, and that leads us into the next medium-term time frame range, of which it's kind of looking like Bitcoin's going to more or less put in time in this region, which is going to be very frustrating for all of the new moon and doom callers as of right now. So realistically, from yesterday to today has been more or less a day of bounciness, as we spoke about, and I want to follow up on all of that and more, and also put the focus now on the Krown chain application. And wait, whoa, hey, where the fuck did my computer lights go? I just realized I actually turned them off. Anyways, looking at the Bitcoin dominance, that is the first thing that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. We actually seen a massive break of range there, heading down another full percent, which we have actually not seen it go below 60.5% for, I mean, as long as we've been documenting this, and it's certainly been more than a year since we've actually seen it below that region. So that is interesting, as it would suggest that most alts are looking very healthy, and again, play into the narrative that we are actually experiencing crypto's own version of rotations as the altcoins kind of take the lead while Bitcoin trades sideways. So we do have that nice interplay, kind of a very similar interplay to what we saw in end of 2017. If you were, which I'm sure a lot of people who were here were probably around then, if that makes sense. But my point is that what we saw was Bitcoin would typically take the lead, or whatever leader it was. It usually was some sort of variation of Bitcoin, Buteral, and Litecoin, and to a lesser extent some other coins here and there. Of which most have kind of washed away, but now I think we have new ones. And then when they would kind of finish their run, they were the first movers. They would finish their run, take some time going sideways and trading a little bit down, and then altcoins would typically take the lead after that. And then it played off for a very nice give and a go between the two between all the different classes essentially. And then we see a greater rotational market going on between traditional markets and crypto and just commodities in general, which is very interesting, as that's something that I do believe is going to take on a bigger and bigger role as time goes on, and it obviously makes the analysis of traditional markets a lot more relevant to what we're looking at, as well as we do see massive correlations on the macro, and we can kind of judge the micro by the rotation, by the rotations that we're looking at right now. Anyways, the open interest right now is, I believe, that's still under construction. Our developer Mournfall is aware of all the issues, and we're working on it as we speak, or as I speak, in this very one-sided conversation. And looking at everything else, pretty much standard from yesterday to today. Fear and greed index actually had no move, although we did go all the way down from an 85 read to about a 75 right now. I do want to check out the data feed right here, just see what's going on from a graphical representation. And we do see that global funding rate still inconsequential, not concerning at all. 0.02% is absolutely fucking nothing. Looking at the fear and greed index, just kind of coming back in a range, although I don't really think that there's too much made off of that. And then other than that, I don't really have too much else to add. That's not really different from yesterday to today as well. So let's get into the actual price action charts themselves, starting off with Bitcoin today. Start off with the daily as well. Or actually, should we start off with the daily, or should we start off with the 4-hour? We'll start off with the daily just because that's a daily routine. And as you can see right here, Bitcoin is going to try to put in a higher low, as we spoke about yesterday, and it did exceed that critical area in the short-term and medium-term liquid zone at 11,500-ish region. So now we get to play off a little bit of sideways here, and I would be looking for hidden bullish divergence, which was present all the way up to a 12-hour, as we identified yesterday, going all the way back to actually 23rd of July with multiple stabs down. And keep in mind, for perspective, on 23rd of July, 24th of July, that was this prior low right here in 9,500-ish region. So this is a massively aggressive one, and it would very likely align with Bitcoin still kind of playing out a little bit more to the top side of the range here. But at the end of the day, it looks to me like it's more or less a waiting period here as Bitcoin kind of figures itself out. Now, we did get the backfill on the weekly for all the people in the program. And the move off that has been pretty damn nice thus far, but now it's all going to come down to the way that the weekly closes tomorrow for CMEs. If the weekly can continue to close above the topside Bollinger Band, I would still be looking for this move to overall give another try to the upside above 12,000 and probably beyond. But as you can see right here on the top side of the Bollinger Band for weekly CME, we do see it is actually just Yeah, just above our current price action. It's currently situated at 11,950-ish region, we'll call it. And right now, CMEs do have about $100 premium on spot price action. So they're trading at around 11,650 to 11,700, depending upon what you're kind of looking at. But overall here, it's going to have another chance to do it. And if it does do that tomorrow, that would be the next sort of major piece of information that I'm looking for to confirm, actually, yes, I would use that as a confirmation tool for another move into the mid 12,000s, 12,500 is where I'd be looking for if that does indeed happen. By the same token, if we do close here or lower like this, it is going to start to look a little bit more exhausted, a little more toppy. I do think, however, given or granted Bitcoin's nature and the way it's kind of played off similar signals in the past, that's still a little bit less likely on the higher time frames. It's the lower time frames that could potentially be problematic here. But as long as Bitcoin is printing higher lows on, at the very least, a daily and even a 12-hour, I don't really have for myself as a trader, I'm not going to be very much. One of my rules is I do not trade against that trend until it officially has a reversal on at least a 12-hour and daily for Bitcoin. Changes for different markets, but in this case right here, creating a lower low would imply that we'd have to take out the low that we're working on right now by closing a daily total below this region at about 11,400, we'll call it, which does look like it actually wants to get retested as well, that 11,400 tick. The question is, do we actually close below it? And then by further extension, we obviously very much confirm an actual downtrend if and when Bitcoin does close a daily below, let's call it 11,000, as that was your last little higher low right here. So depending upon how you're looking at it, depending upon how aggressive you are with it, 11,400 is your first major warning signal on a daily closure. What about a 12-hour? 12-hour showing the exact same area, 11,400, and for the more conservative traders, they'd probably wait for this one right here at about 11,000-ish region. One of the probably the first one does it, to be quite honest with you, below 11,400. I do think that would be rather problematic, especially on a daily total closure, but technically speaking, 11,000 would be like the more obvious way of doing it. Also breaking the 21x moving average on the on that pass as well, and very likely transpire a move all the way back down. I would actually be looking back down below 10,000 overall, with the bounce very likely at 10 and a half thousand. Or sorry. I would be looking for the move to overall come down here below 10,000 to about 9,800 to 9,900. Again, coffee list mornings, so give me a break, or don't, but whatever. Anyways, and probably bounce around 10,500 as well. But that's if and only if we actually do destroy a structure here, which so far Bitcoin has not done. And with the world markets more or less bouncing, and we'll look at traditional markets in just a second here, it would suggest that we're probably going to have another try to the upside first before any sort of anything like that is even really tested. If it does even happen, and then there's going to be specific value on tomorrow's weekly closure for CMEs. So looking at this right here, we actually do have the same sort of potential hidden bullish divergence present on the daily RSI as well, going all the way back, not as far actually, but to August 1st low, which was this guy right here at about 11,000. So based off of that, you could say that that's going to be a better pivot for the long-term downside. Again, transpiring that next move down very likely below 10,000 overall. But for right now, with that in line, I actually do look for another test to the tops of the range. As we said yesterday, if Bitcoin does get back above 11,500, and as long as it's living above 11,500, I do think that very likely to test back up towards 11,750 to 11,800-ish region, something like that, with potential to break to the upside. And the same resolution points for the upside that we've been having for a while now. As long as Bitcoin is below, let's call it 12,000, especially on a 4-hour closure, or a 12-hour closure below 11,900, and daily by extension, of course, as well. As long as we're doing that, no real breakout to the upside to really be spoken of. But if Bitcoin actually does exceed these levels on those relevant timeframes, as we've just kind of laid them out, then I actually would be targeting a move in line with the measure move all the way up to about 12,500-ish territory. It's actually technically pointed up about $100 north of that at 12,600 if you want to get super exact with it. And now Bitcoin actually does have the etchings of an ascending triangle at the top side of this region, at the top side of, well, what is macro resistance right now as well. So looking at this, as it currently is, the reason why 11,400 is so damn important right now for Bitcoin to hold on to is because it does mark off this, what is essentially a bullish reaccumulation formation. And as all the lower term timeframes start to kind of situate themselves out, we do see the 4-hour Stokes pointed nice and erect and north, although they are going to be meeting this trend line relatively soon. So, perhaps a little bit of pullback back down to the blue box territory right here. Again, not problematic until it actually does break, and that's only relevant for the medium term timeframes. But I'm curious how the other lower term timeframes operate right now too. Are they in agreement? Are they in concert, or are they bifurcated? We see the 3-hour coming from the same area and actually got the same trend line there as well. So this one can have a chance to actually confirm above it before the 4-hour, obviously in the next hour and 41 minutes, which would be interesting and very likely open up the doors for a move towards that 11,757 tick. Going over to the 2-hour, we do see 2-hour Stokes getting a little bit hot over there, and will naturally turn to the downside if Bitcoin does close a 2-hour dollar below 11,550. This is very interesting here though, because now we're starting to come up with a nice little way to play off of the short-term timeframes and the medium-term timeframes. And what do I mean by that? Well, the 2-hour is showing that momentum will turn back again to the downside from a nice top area at 11,550ish region. That would also initiate hidden bearish divergence as well between this point right here on this 11,750 tick and this in this lower high right here, which correlates with this set of actually 3 drives on higher highs for the bi-hourly RSI, and would very likely give it enough juice to probably come back down into that blue box territory at the very least, somewhere between about 11.4, probably 11.4, but even swiping back down to 11.3 I think would be rather likely. Just where does it close is the real question. A wick down to 11.3 with a closure above 11.4, no problem. Or it just, the medium term time frame range still holds essentially. But closing outside of this range, especially below the 200 exponential average on a 4-hour dodo time frame, then yes, that's when it really does look like it wants to test back down to 11,000 even, or even $100 below that. Probably does bounce there, but overall, then this is starting to look a lot less. It just doesn't have the etchings of a bullish bias anymore as far as just the trend goes. So at the end of the day, the trend is your friend. And holy fuck, man, I need some damn water right now. Can't speak. Jesus. There we go. Good for another 500 seconds, I guess. Finish water. It's amazing. It's the best in the world, and I'm oh so blessed to be able to drink it right now. That sounded weird. Anyways, let's go back to the medium-term time frames. Curious what the 10-hour is showing. 10-hour showing a little bit of pressure down after a test of the 10 simple, yes. Although we are going to find, or actually we didn't even look at the 4-hour for this, but it is interesting to see that the 10-hour momentum will actually turn back up to the upside with any sort of a closure above 11,669. Man, I'm ruining these numbers today. But if I get the 11 or 10 wrong, you can probably figure it out. Looking at the 12-hour, same thing, except a couple $100 higher from 11,800ish region. So yes, we are playing out of range. Probably going to take some time. If I had to call it right now, probably another swipe of the medium-term range to the downside, 11,400ish region, whatever it ends up being, and then I'd be looking for another, and I'd be looking for that to get picked up and probably try again to the upside overall and play out the range. But I wouldn't necessarily be looking for a resolution today. I do think that today is going to be more or less a day of sideways, kind of similar to the last couple of days as we've been saying. So I mean, technically we did have about like an $800 dump right here, so not necessarily like an uneventful day, so to speak, but it was still within the range from the same 12,000 to 11,000 low right here. All of the same nature as far as the long-term timeframes goes. We've been saying for the past couple of weeks, I guess working on 3 weeks now. Yeah, working on 3 weeks now. Now, what is interesting about the weekly, however, and this is really where the perspective comes from on the higher time frames for the long, for the greater trend and the overall bias, we are going to still see weekly momentum be controlled to the upside as long as Bitcoin's closing weeklies above 10,950. That's very interesting because obviously if Bitcoin closed below 10,950, that would take out last week's low. This would look like a nice little tweezer top, and that'd be pretty damn good for getting Bitcoin back down, below 10,000. But as of right now, that's not really where we are. Of course, still a few days to go left on obviously spot weekly closure. CME is going to be doing it tomorrow, and they usually do lead into spot anyways. But what I also want to bring up is something that I've been covering for like the last week or so now, or 2 weeks. which is the weekly RSI in its interpretation with price action as well on the macro. Anytime that we do see the weekly RSI get into the bullish control zone, that has been like the second leg of a macro reversal typically. For example, the last time that we had something like this was in April 2019, going all the way back to, well, hold on, let me get this off right here, going all the way back just a little bit more than a year ago, as you can see right here, coming into this region. And Bitcoin did put in an ascending triangle on the lows, right? Put in an ascending triangle on the lows over the course of 3 months. During that time, we can go to the daily and look at the daily historical volatility percentile coming down all the way to extreme lows here. Anytime that we see it get into single digits with these inputs, it's these are things that you don't see all that often. Happens a couple times a year, or two to four times a year at most from what we've seen. And then more recently, what do we have right here? A nice ascending triangle, and then boom, major move to the upside. But look at it this way. When Bitcoin had this first move out of this base about a year ago, it tested the 6,000 region. And you probably remember everyone was talking about how they're going to be the genius who shorts 6,000 because, well, it's just a bearish retest. No, that was a big breakout out of a 3-month consolidation, which is, par for the course on Bitcoin's major reversals. And during that time, you'll notice that the weekly RSI just got into the bullish control zone on that first drive here, right around here actually. And that's just to line it up, 29th of April. So literally right here. So as Bitcoin breaks through, that led on to another about 150% move from top to bottom. I'm not suggesting that's going to be 1-to-1 like that, but I do think that it is interesting nonetheless. Well, very similar things going on right here with Bitcoin getting its first stint into the bullish control zone. Do I think that it's possible we could come back down and test the edge of the bullish control zone? Yes, that's not problematic, but it would still kind of lead into that. And then of course we can go back to the past prior run as well, looking at all of these tries into the bullish control zone. They were precipitating all of these up moves. So if you are looking for a nice timer on the on the weekly, we can see right here, again, getting into the bullish control zone right here. That's your first green dildo. Boom, nice up. That's 80% move. We see another one obviously right here, getting this whole move from top to bottom, 72. And assuming that you trade it absolutely perfectly, 72.5% before the next big down. Then we had another one like a couple weeks later for another 64% move to the upside. I mean, these don't look that crazy when we're looking at it on log scale, but as you can see, they're pretty fucking aggressive moves. Then again, right here on this one, just a couple weeks later, 150% gainer, and then multiple times throughout that run essentially, and that goes all the way back to the genesis of which we do have data on this particular chart to 2013, but I can verify that it does go all the way back to 2011. It does work all essentially in the same vein. And you'll notice that we have a lot of other similar things as well. If we look at the weekly Stokes, we can see that Bitcoin getting to the critical zone right here, above the critical zone, better said, then yes, that's been the same read as well, in line with the RSI. It lines up with pretty much all of those times actually. And what's very interesting about that is, as we just looked at via the reverse Stoke indicator cross, it will cross the upside as long as Bitcoin maintains essentially last week's low at 10,900-ish region. So that is very, 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 very critical, because as long as Bitcoin's above there, well, it will inevitably continue to the upside for the weekly Stokes and get officially into the critical zone, thus confirming 2 points of verification on what we're looking at right here. Just as an aside, the weekly Joule does still have a haughtier long signal, and I do happen to respect that as long as we are above this fib right here. And also, if we go over here to our Trollinger Bands once again, or sorry, whoops, we'll say probabilities for later, but if we go over here to the weekly Trollinger Bands as well, anytime that Bitcoin's closed above the top side Trollinger Band, by the way, similar thing right here, just like we saw before, that has been your lead on into another leg, typically speaking. So same areas going back to 2019 right here, same areas on all these drives to the upside, all spun about at the very beginning by having that first girthy green dildo closure above the top side Trollinger Band. When it comes back down below, typically does base off the 20 simple, but we do see that, all going all the way back to the genesis essentially. So that these reads all putting together, looking at both historical, or not both, but historical volatility percentile coming down extremely aggressively, which we actually didn't verify that, but you can, well, not for all of them, but you already fucking know. 3-month consolidation, typically in a bullish recumulation formation. In this current one, we do see an ascending triangle, the weekly RSI, the weekly Stokes, the weekly Trollinger Bands, and I'm sure that we could figure out some more things as well. But as it is right now, that I do happen to think that if Bitcoin can maintain above essentially 11,500, it will give another try to the upside. and above 12, or sorry, well, actually above 11,900 on a 12-hour or daily closure. You know my ideas with that. Very likely does reach up and fulfill the measure move to the upside somewhere around the mid 12,000s for the next tick. On top of that, we can also look at volume profile and just realize that it is very much suggesting or suggestive that Bitcoin is at a major level right here. As far as volume profile goes, it really does thin out, above where we are right now. So, Bitcoin being volatile within this region is to be expected, and Bitcoin coming back down to the low side of the range just a couple of days ago, that's going to be par for the course. If Bitcoin does continue on to the upside here, you're going to see some pretty fucking nasty and violent pullbacks. There's a great guy in our program Discord. I actually really like him, and he posts too many pictures of his fucking dog, but I do really enjoy conversations with him. Craig, if you're listening, he actually called this out before. He's like, listen, man, more BULAs are gonna get liquidated in a BULA market. The reason why is because, well, people get a little bit too greedy, start putting positions on margin, and the market is going to be designed to wash those people out. In a bull market, people really aren't taking too many like long-term short positions anyways, or at least like big institutions. Obviously, your individual trader making a scalp here and there, different story, of course. But as far as like big institutions, probably not going to be doing, not really doing as they typically do, control overall direction. But more importantly, the way that they shake people out is to, well, dump it hard as fuck. And the way that you dump it hard as fuck is you got to scare crypto fucking degens. And crypto degens are very difficult to scare because they've fucking been living through all this shit for way too long. I'm talking about like all the way back on over here throughout these extreme ups and extreme downs. So they're fucking tested, man. So that's why we get these very aggressive price action, and well, for better or worse, it does seem to get the job done. Anyways, checking out the 2-day and 3-day, we do see that the 2-day is just based off the 10 simple as it is right now, has the same structure as a daily, still need to maintain 11,000 lows essentially, but overall, as long as it's above all major moving averages, I can't really be bearish on it. It's not to say that it can't work out as bearish. I'm sure that I'm going to end up eating my words soon enough. But at the end of the day, I'll stick with what I've been saying for a while now. Until we actually see a reversal on the daily, it's hard for me to get like actually bearish, calling a reversal without a reversal in place. Now I understand that other people out there are going to be more gung ho and more cavalier with calling such things. Fair enough. Credit to them when they're right, and they don't have to take any responsibility when they're wrong because they probably don't fucking trade, but all good. Anyway, 3-day stokes are looking like they do want to turn down, so that is problematic as well. It looks like it's pretty much at a do or die situation right here, as we did just get a fresh 3-day dildo, I believe, today, and so it needs to close in 3 days, which is actually going to be in line with the weekly close above 11,600 to keep momentum to the upside. Otherwise, would probably look good for another test of 11,000 low, and that would be a very good setup for actually sending this thing back down to 10,000 overall after a couple bounces. But as it is right now, I would say that 3-day RSI is more or less healthy. I don't see any issues with this. Looks more or less fine. And so essentially my bias is on the higher term time frame, still going to give another try to the upside. Does it break to the upside? I mean, I've not had much success trading against the trend, long term. Now, of course, that also means that at every major high and every major low, I'm always going to be bullish at all of the major highs. I'm always going to be bearish at the next major lows. I'm every fucking time. And if you've been in this channel for at least 2 years now, you've seen that plenty of times. I was bearish right here. I was bullish right here though, because that's when the actual trend switched around. We had a higher low, we created a higher high. Boom, there you go. Now I wasn't making videos around this time, but in Bitcoin in 2017, I was bullish up here at 20,000. I was bearish as fuck right here at 16,500. That's where I got out of most of the market. And then same thing more recently, on this price action right here, getting bearish on this break, getting bullish on this break, getting bearish on this break. Yes, it's always going to be of that nature. It's great though for the YouTube trolls because they always get like a few days of just saying, you fucking suck, you're terrible, you're the worst, you should fucking kill yourself. It's like, Jesus, man. All right, well, I'm just trying to live my life, man. So fair enough. I guess everyone's entitled to their own opinions. So have at it on whatever you want to do on this nice little Thursday or whatever day it might be. Okay, so let's go check out world markets now to kind of come up with or see how they performed yesterday. I do believe that we were looking for bounces across the board, and did we get bounces across the board? Well, yes, we did get bounces across the board. Nasdaq closing above the 10 simple looks to me like it does want to test back up to the prior high at 11,250. Again, rotations here. Nasdaq came down this whole way from its its new all-time highs at 11,250 down to 21 exponential moving average base at 10,850. Same move that we spoke about yesterday. And then guess what? E-mini futures for SPY, they were rotated up. We are seeing fucking rotations right in front of your very face. Tesla getting a massive boost due to that 5-to-1 stock split, as we spoke about as well. I don't really have anything to add on to here. This thing is... It actually did get a really good closure right here yesterday. I do think that I can be wrong about this being a macro high here. With the strength across all of the markets right now, I think that it'd be silly to call Tesla at a macro high when everything else is kind of melting up for probably another leg anyways. But I would still be using this blue box territory right here to kind of judge it. So as long as it's above 10,530, I actually should not really be bearish on it, so to speak. I don't really feel too confident about that because it does look a little bit shaky, and this is obviously, driven by a stock split. So I'd kind of, let go of TA right there. I don't think that it works all that well in these situations because it's, it's going to be muddied by the new territory. But for what it's worth, if I did have to analyze it, that's what I would say. I just find that my edge is diminished in these sorts of situations where people want to fucking split up their stock for obvious reasons. Looking at Apple, just puts in a nice base, puts in a higher low, and then new move back up to the prior high. I mean, they got rotated down. Now they're rotating up as everything else in the market, which was fucking doing fuck all beforehand. That was redundant. Sorry. If you're gonna cuss, you can't be redundant with it. Yes, I know. But now they're joining the party once again and probably going to take the reins once again as well. Now, Microsoft looks a little bit more under pressure, to be fair. However, I would be using this 208.5 pivot, still going both ways, essentially. And technically, we did close above it yesterday, although it does look weak here, to be fair. Looking at, I do want to go back to NASDAQ futures for a second. On the lower time frames, it does look, it just looks like it's playing out of range overall. I don't have anything to add there. If you're just playing the trend, this is your next higher low. I'd be using that as a judgment for any sort of reversals as long as you're above that area at 10,950. Or basically the 21 exponential moving average on the daily. I don't really see any reason to be calling a reversal here, and probably gets another test to the upside. With technically, this measured move in line with the two spot fib extension at 11,400, still an area of interest, albeit I don't really, at these levels, it's mainly just algo and hype driven, so not. It's very difficult to get the next parabolic high. I'd just be taking it one step at a time on this one. Going over to E-mini futures for SPY, what do you know? What did we say yesterday? Probably retest the prior high at 3,800, probably pulls back from there and then gives another try higher. Well, sometimes that TA bullshit, that TA hocus pocus. Do we have new closing highs though on the daily? No, we don't actually. No, we don't. But it looks like continuation of trend here. Here's the next higher low. As long as it's above 3,336, I'm looking for the trend to continue to the upside. Daily RSI looks okay. Looks kind of inconsequential. Daily historical volatility percentile continues to contract over the whole, as we said was likely for which can go on for a lot more time. In fact, a lot more time. Although it's really starting to contract quite aggressively here. So I would kind of expect another spike up. Does that fall in line with the trend being to the upside? Probably yes. Like I said, if it does break 333, well, do we want to call it 3334? Yeah, let's call it 3334 to the downside. I would look for another test back up or back down to the 21 on the daily, somewhere around 3285 region or slightly lower than that. Looks about right, but for right now, looks like it wants to give another try to the upside as the dump from just a couple days ago gets reaccumulated and bought right on up almost immediately. Let's go check out gold. Gold did, what do you know? Gold bouncing back up to our short-term target yesterday at 1950. Now coming back into parity. This one again, you see that all of these charts are basically the same thing. They're all on these nice rallies. They're all on these nice uptrends for the most part. In some variations of each other. And what was yesterday? Yesterday was a day for bouncy bounce behavior for the ones that are on the stronger side, and in gold bouncing very aggressively here. Having the coming down to the weekly 10 simple, we said that it was likely to bounce off here to 1950. It did. I feel like I'm coming off as arrogant right there. Not the way that I want to represent myself, but what I'm looking for to happen now is to create a range similar to Bitcoin between that that 1950ish region and actually the low of yesterday as well, just below, just around 1880ish region down around here. But overall, as long as it does play within that, within this territory, I actually do go with a former trend as well. That is still higher low territory right now, but that would imply that we will test back down around here, which will give it obviously a chance to break as well. So if it does break below here, then I would start to target moves much lower towards low 1800s, like 1820ish region. Probably sets up for another bounce there, and then I want to come back to it and see it after that. But for right now, I'll just be looking for sideways behavior. Of course, if it does take out yesterday's high at 1950, even just trades above there, I would look for extension quite a fair bit higher, all the way up to about 1985 region. This is all short term though, so at the end of the day, the higher term timeframes look to me like they're more or less kind of spent here. Weekly looks like it's done for a little bit of time. I'd probably be looking for sideways overall now, while the but with bigger ranges. So sideways, but with big ranges. So that's actually really, really nice for the short-term and medium-term traders there. A lot of opportunity to be had, very likely. Okay, let's go check out Link, do the daily rounds of Link. Wow, what do you know? A new all-time fucking high. That's crazy. Shitcoin no longer. By the way, if you're in the program, if you're in the member section, you'll notice that there's a new channel. It's called the Shitcoin Carousel. Enjoy. Don't fucking tag me there. Don't want no part of it. But hey, man, more power to you if you're making shit tons of money trading shitcoins. Obviously, Link's not a shitcoin, man. This thing's been in an uptrend ever since we started looking at it in summer of 2018. This is the antithesis of shitcoin. As far as charts go, this has been the best chart in cryptocurrency land since that time. And I would be looking at this as likely to produce new all-time highs, similar to the same shit that we said yesterday. This one just keeps on going. It's beautiful. Now it is creating 4-hour bearish divergence right now, though. Now it still has not necessarily confirmed a local high here. Oh, it's fork time. Forks, motherfuckers. Get him out. Get him out and flying around. Throw that fucking dish at me, please. Why don't you, sir? Else has headphones on. She can't hear anything. Okay. That's not distracting. Looking at the 2-hour. 2-hour does still look like it wants to try to the upside here. I suppose I'd go with the same trend. I don't have any measure moves to be made on this one. We could look at expected moves chart to get something, perhaps. I guess we could look at extensions for a second. Let's try this. We could do something like this. Yeah, I mean, here's the crazy thing. We already made it to the 2.414. I guess the next one's 2.618 at or just 152,000 satoshis. I do think that the lower time frames are starting to get a little bit tired there, though. So I would be defensive against any sort of a short-term local high being put in, because that will initiate bearish divergence on all the way up to a 4-hour. What about a 12-hour? 12-hour, no. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So technically, only present on lower term time frame. So if it does have a pullback, probably back down to 126,000 base, but I'd still be looking for that to bounce there. If it were to do something like that. But for right now, I'd be cautiously looking for it to continue on to the upside. Let's look at the Link dollar pairing as well. I'm guessing that this one also going up quite aggressively too. And yes, what do you know? New all-time highs. Crazy motherfucking shit. Of course, as always. And holy mother of God, we have once again fulfilled the fib extension 236 at 16.31. If you've been watching this like for the last couple of weeks here, and you've been like seeing these targets getting called out and then getting hit, please understand this doesn't happen like all the time with these sorts of extensions. Like these are like really aggressive extensions. This is coming in from like the last major. This is the only major base that I have right here, going from July 2019 to June 2020, a year-long base. To be fair, but I mean, Jesus Christ, man, yeah, it's not that common to see. But hey, a good chart gets rewarded in a market like this, and as the daily looks like, it's continuing of trend. Here's your last higher low at just under $13. I'm bullish as long as we're above $13 and looking for new all-time highs. Although I would expect a short-term pullback based off that fib extension. That's going to be a lot of bots and algos targets. So I would kind of look for a move, perhaps fill back down to 15.5 or $15 even, something like that. Or where was our last one? $14. Okay, I'd keep that level in mind then. I'll put the horizontal right up there. 14, 14 and 15 cents. I would keep an eye on, but I'd be cautiously looking for some more upside here. I don't have any more extensions to go though. We could look at expected release chart. Actually, this is gonna be the best way to do it here. Funnily enough, let's get or I guess I don't even have link USD here, huh? Let's see. Let's see. Looking at the ranks. Oh motherfucker, charts all. There we go. The chart got a little bit too crazy, so it's not making sense on TradingView. Okay, so we're looking at the probability rings here. We actually did hit the top side of the first standard deviation at 17 and a half. Or sorry, no. We have not hit it. Okay, I apologize. Very difficult for me to actually like focus in on this. This is apparently as much as I can zoom right now. But looking at this, does that help? Kind of. But looking at this, the top side of the first standard deviation is at $17.50. The second standard deviation showing 18 and 3/4, and the third standard deviation showing just under $20. Now it is very common for at the top of parabolic rallies to actually hit that third standard deviation, which we could look at examples on Bitcoin. As you can see, it did hit it a couple days ago. Didn't do shit. So fair enough. As of right now, I'd be looking for it to play off here, and it looks like a slow sludge to the upside, still melting up. Man, what a powerful chart. That is really impressive. This is like really becoming incredibly impressive actually. Anyways, looking at euro dollar, looks like it's going to get another try to the upside as well. As we said, a swipe to the downside at 117, a swipe to the upside at 119-ish region, very likely. But overall, I do think that looking at the monthly, probably party's over for a little bit of time as far as like the big moves go, as long as it's living below the 200 exponential moving average at just under 120. I do look for a major high to be put in here and for it to trend back down towards 115 and then 113 respectively over time, over the next like half year to a year. But right now, as long as it's kind of caught within here, I do think that probably gets sold into. However, if it does take out those areas to the upside, which it looks like it's going to test it again, I mean, this is a consolidation at resistance. It's going to give a try. So it very well could overtake that, yes. But I'd be looking for another test up here. Let's see if it turns into another lower high or not, and then go from there. But for right now, should give respect to the blue laws there, to be fair, actually, follow my own rules. Anyways, looking at Mr. Butyrol, I don't think we've done that just yet. And 4 hour popping back up around the top side of the range. However, if it does put in a lower high right here, there is going to be problems, or at least short-term problems. Do we have any sort of hidden bearish divergence to be aware of? My voice is cracking. No, actually no hidden bearish divergence on the 4 hour. So, okay. Yeah, and 4 hour momentum is going to be the upside as long as we're above what level? 377, actually very generous there too. Okay. All right. Fair enough. What about the 3 hour? 3 hours showing about the same thing, and momentum will remain to the upside as long as we're above 380-ish region. Very, very similar. 2 hours showing momentum stays to the upside as long as we're above 390. Do we have any hidden bearish divergence here? Still no. Yeah, still no. All right. Fair enough. So, in that case, I typically look for hidden divergences to be, to make me aware of like the next local high being put in. But in that case, we're not actually having that. Not even on an hourly, in fact. Or do we have it on an hourly? Depends what point that you take. You could make the argument that it technically is kind of available right here. I would say that would be very weak divergence, and that probably is going to spurn off a short-term pullback, maybe back down to like 390-ish region. But all the other ones don't have it like at all. So that is quite enlightening. I think that this one probably gets another test back up to the top side of its range. Very similar to Bitcoin. Looking at the 12-hour Stokes, they will remain northward momentum as long as we're closing above 391. So kind of in that range right now. But if that does happen, yeah, I'd be looking for a move back to 400. I mean, it did kind of get into this region already. Let's chart this one out. Okay. All right. So let's make some nice ranges right here. Come on, blue boxes. Show me the way. Show me the light, and show me the profits. Let us all hold hands and pray to the blue box blue laws of profits. Today, I mean, we've pretty much already tested in there. Like, how much more do you want? Something like this. If I'm a Bula, I'm looking at something like this, an ascending triangle. Although technically you kind of already had that in the cards right here, and it did not hold that high, this structure. But fair enough, that can happen. I'd say very, 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 very short term, probably back down to 390-ish region, although it's not really saying all that much. Medium term, I'd probably just go with support and resistance here. Still looking at 400 on a 4-hour closure. Then I'd target a move back up towards 420-ish region. To the downside, I'd be looking for any break of structure at 380, creating another lower low, as we technically still do have higher lows as it is right now. So that would be problematic for there. Warning flags below, let's call it 385. Yeah, probably going to follow whatever Bitcoin does, or they're probably going to move in unison, whatever it ends up being. What else we want to look at? Maybe Butyrol versus Bitcoin, actually. A lot of people calling that one out recently, too. And what do you know? Putting in a base above the 200 exponential average. This one does look like it's going to give another major try up, actually, to the next major resistance at 0.039. Looking at the daily. I'm bullish on this one as long as we're riding that last higher low right here at 0.0326. Very simple trading right now, but when everything's kind of just melting up, I do find that this is one of the better ways, just one of the better ways to not make things more difficult than they need to be. Is it optimal? Maybe not, but it is. But it does get the job done. Or at least more importantly, I found that it keeps myself safe from trying to counter trade the trend. What the fuck, man? Counter trade the trend, prematurely, as typically that is what happens. Anyways, yeah, I'd be looking at this level as the next major one. Maybe a little bit lower than that as well at 0.365. We do see a little bit of historical activity in that region as well. This is the next major one though, however. But I would expect a short-term pullback off of this guy. Okay, what else? What else we want to look at? How long is this video? 40 minutes? Too fucking long, baby. Too fucking long. Let's go look at probabilities for Bitcoin and call it a damn day, sir. Looking at 4-hour ranges. Again, 11.5 to the downside. Doesn't really do too much for me here. I want to see the higher low structure destroyed if I'm going to like change around my bias. This is too tight margins for me to really care. I do believe, however, as long as we're above 11.5, naturally going to see that 12-hour hidden bullish divergence play out back up to 11,800-ish region, give or take about $50, we'll call it. But for right now, I'm not interested in trading this right now. I think that it just needs some time going sideways here. If it does break this last higher low, obviously I would be looking for another move back down to 11,000. That would imply a closure below 11,400-ish region on a 4-hour, maybe even probably a 2-hour gets it as well. By the same token, a closure below 11,000 as we spoke about, still looking for a move below 10,000 if that were to happen, and a closure on a 12-hour or daily above 11,900 and on target to move towards 12,500 and probably beyond after that as well. So looking at this right here, I guess I'd still, if I had to wrap my thoughts, I'd still be cautiously bullish on medium and higher term timeframes. Short-term timeframes look like they're going to have some turbulence perhaps. That's why I do want to be defensive against another move back down here. But let's go look at probabilities on top of that, because I feel like I'm just wrapping shit up before I even get to it. Jesus, man. Getting way ahead of myself today. Let's try this. Okay, there we go. Hey, oh man, where's the panel? Damn it, there it is. Okay, we'll try... I guess we can look at the hidden bullish divergence move to the upside at 11.8. See what this prints. 33 and almost a 0.5% probability to the upside versus just under 15% probability to the downside. That's actually decently high for the downside, by the way. If the bears do want to take control, it actually would kind of make sense sooner rather than later, in fact. But let's look at that last higher low on the 4-hour, which again was just under 11.4. But I'm going to say 11.4 for the purposes of this. Or let's call it 11.350 just to give it a little bit more of a wide berth here. Err more on the side of conservativeness. And here we go. This is very interesting to me, however, because the above target probability at 11.8 is pretty much in line with the below target probability at just under 35%. So pretty much in unison with each other, which is suggesting that it's kind of like expressing my indecision in mathematical formula with regards to the lower term timeframes. The higher term timeframe range, I feel quite strongly about. The medium and lower term timeframe range, it looks like short term and medium term are not in unison right now. So we'll probably see some ebbs and flows here and kind of figure it out on the weekly closure tomorrow. That's essentially what I'd be looking for right now. But I feel like this video hasn't maybe been that good, but hopefully it's helped in some way. If not, feel free to regale me in the comments, and perhaps I'll have to go back to drinking coffee in order to make use of my fucking voice. Anyways, ranges, as we already said, basically the same thing right here. 11.4 to the downside, then we got lower lows. 11,000 still the big one. 11,500 to the upside, still the big one there. And I think it's time for me to wish you well. Wish you the best, and the happiest. And until next time, take care.